Welcome everyone back to another edition of Cleve and Me as we are live on YouTube. If you're trying to get others to get at us, watch it, like, subscribe, anything, Twitter, Cleve and Me. Simply type that in on YouTube to watch live. Also, follow on Twitter at Cleve and Me as well. We try to make it as easy as possible for all the fans out there. So make sure to be subscribed and like, and please comment if you disagree with us. Probably be Cleve, but if you do, leave a comment on there. Get back at us as we break down Summerslam, fellas. We are just a few days away, and two to be exact, about 48 hours from when the pre-show starts. Man, there's a lot to unravel. But before we do any of that, is we got the three original hosts in the show. First, Cleve, how we doing? I know not too great, as you had a little Dallas Cowboys CD injury go down, but wrestling-wise, how we doing?
Going out good. Like Joe mentioned, we have SummerSlam coming up. The card is looking stacked. It's been a great week of wrestling with the news of Triple H's creative wrestling, creative of writing. We're in a new era of wrestling. I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to get into that because a lot of people think that Triple H will have big impact. I'm going to tell people why he definitely already had an impact, and we'll talk about that with Seth Rollins here soon. But before we do that, let's bring in our other go-to host, Mr. Tampa Tones. We know you had an injury yourself today. It's like losing a drill sergeant when you lose a captain and a center on the football field in Tampa Bay. But besides that, Mr. Tones, how we doing?
Yeah, how we doing, gentlemen? It's a beautiful day. It's just very unfortunate. Big Red went down. Ryan Jensen, one of the best centers in the game, and Tom Brady, very close with Jensen. So we'll see where they go. They might sign J.C. Treader, former Packer and Brown veteran, or they might lean on Robert Hainsey, former Notre Dame offensive lineman. But on the wrestling front, it's a great time to be a fan, and as much as we love Vince McMahon, we know the company's on to bigger and better in terms of creative, and also it's going to be a fun Saturday again. And we got a UFC pay-per-view, and we got SummerSlam simultaneously. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, and usually things happen in threes, unfortunately. So that means the Colts could be next. I really hope it is not for them. Hopefully we keep away from the injury bug. Just like in wrestling, a ton of wrestlers are injured. Finally, we're starting to see some come back, like Bryan Danielson did last night for AEW at Fight for Fallen. Hopefully we maybe get a Bayley or a Randy Orton back soon on the WWE side of things. That all being said, let's get right to it. We lost Vince, Triple H, and Stephanie take over, and Mr. Khan. Like Cleve said, Triple H leads creative. A bunch of speculation on Brock Lesnar. He comes back, and my only comment on that is I'm not going to, come at anybody for speculating, but CM Punk, I finally was able to hear his stupidity today as a huge CM Punk fan. And let me just say this about him. He tried to compare Sasha and Naomi to Brock Lesnar. Well, Brock Lesnar still showed up, so that's problem number one. So you're not going to call anybody out. Now, and for those who don't know, CM Punk had a comment in which, hey, a lot of people back up Sasha and Naomi. I think all of us do to a certain extent as well here. Did they have Michael call it? That came from Vince McMahon making the comment how it's disappointing and that they left the show. But Michael Cole should not have said that for Brock Lesnar, as CM Punk alluded to, because Brock Lesnar was there, and as always, he shows up in the big time. So that's my one CM Punk complaint. And another thing I want to talk about on top of that before you two break it down is I think Seth Rollins is already, and this is just off the top of my head, you guys could tell me right or wrong and comment on both, of course. We'll start with Tones and go to Cleve. I think on Seth Rollins, this is the first time you're seeing Triple H truly get his stab at it. We have a kayfabe injury that's being reported with Mr. Riddle. That will happen at Clash of Champions now, the next pay-per-view following SummerSlam at the end of August. So to me, we're going to get, because Seth Rollins will be there, we're going to get another mystery opponent is the rumblings, and we'll see who comes back. I personally think I know it might be short for the injury timetable, but maybe Randy Orton, that would make a lot of sense if we got the Viper back here to face Rollins as he's partners with Riddle. There could be a plethora of other names if he does include himself in a match. But I think that's Triple H's way of getting his spot on creative. They do speculate, a lot of wrestling outlets, that a couple of big Triple H landmark moves will happen starting with this SummerSlam. So I'm very intrigued by that. But enough from me. We'll start with you, Tones, from Vince to Triple H to Brock to CM Punk, comments on it, to Seth Rollins. Where do you stand on all that hippity hoopla?
Yeah, I'll start first with the Seth Rollins thing, and I think that, like I said, it's a new direction for the better, perhaps, with creative wise. As much as we loved Vince and his creative was very good and abrasive for the past 30 years or whatnot, it's time. Everything needs change, and Triple H is already maybe setting up a storyline or perhaps promoting that change already on Twitter with Seth Rollins. And I don't think Seth Rollins will be the only one. I think we'll end up seeing a couple other guys benefit as well, the likes of Kevin Owens perhaps, and we'll see a couple others maybe benefit. We've already heard several superstars comment about it. And as far as CM Punk goes, I think he should shut his damn mouth and learn his place, because you're always blabbing about other companies and how you feel wronged and you're shorted. Well, your wife turned around right after Vince McMahon retired and posted on Facebook how she loved McMahon. Now I know he's alluded
Oh,
to
I did not know that.
Yep. AJ Lee said she'll forever be thankful for Vince, and I know that he alluded to Brock, and he didn't really allude to the Vince McMahon thing, but it's totally different. Brock came. Whether he left and came back or whether he just showed up. The bottom line is he showed up and performed what he was supposed to do. And we don't know what was going on. Okay, maybe there were contractual obligations that had to be sorted out now that Vince wasn't there. Maybe there were rumors going on. Hey, it is a company. It ain't a team at the end of the day. If you don't like the new guy in charge, you don't like him. So maybe it took a phone call from Triple H to explain how things were going to go from there on out. We never know what went down or how it went down. All I know is CM Punk should really just shut his damn mouth, because you look like a fool and you look like a horse's ass commenting on the situation and comparing it, quite frankly, to one that's totally different, because these ladies are still missing or whatever the hell they're doing. But yeah, totally different scenarios. One guy showed up. How he got there, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and I fully agree with you with what you just said. And for the people who'll be out there, oh, look at the, especially coming from me, look at the AEW hate. No, I'll tell you who does it right. That's Chris Jericho. Because, he has, for example, the Jericho Appreciation Society right now, which is to be a superstar, like a WWE superstar clan, and he's kind of mocking it in that way. And that's funny. That's in the show. Like last night, one of his guys, instead of acknowledge us like Roman does, he said, appreciate us. Stuff like that. I love for it. I live like that. That's the type of fun stuff. But don't, when you're coming out with straight lies, when CM Punk does these comparisons, it's bothersome. I haven't liked a few things since he's been back. Quite frankly, more negative for me than positive. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now. As he's injured and on the sidelines. But a guy like Jericho, MJF, people like that who interact with the other side, but get creative and fun about it. That's where I love the crossovers, things of that nature. But Cleveland, on to you and your thoughts from anything from Vince to Triple H. You already kind of gave your thought on that, but Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, all that good stuff.
All right, now first we're gonna go into the CM Punk. I think Tones make a good point. I think the Punk problem is I think he's still bitter about how it ended with WWE, and he's sort of becoming like how Bret Hart is. You read a lot of how Bret Hart's always trashed in WWE. He's always got his comments, and it sort of seemed like Punk it's going that way. And I think it's because CM Punk deep down knew that he would never be as big as John Cena was, and he can't let that go. Because let's be realistic, Sasha has did this before where she's packed her bags and gone. And this is the first time for Naomi. And if we're being completely honest, their two star power together is nothing compared to Brock Lesnar's star power. You hear Brock Lesnar's not going to be there, you're like, damn, you know what? I was looking forward to this episode of Raw. Brock's not going to be here. Maybe I watch something else. You hear Sasha Naomi's not going to be there. Oh, whatever. I'll still tune it in. So to compare something like that was just ridiculous on CM Punk part. Like, let it go, Punk. It was years and years ago. You had your moment. Money in the Bank 2011 will be the greatest moment in CM Punk's career when he beat John Cena in Chicago. But other than that, you were never on Cena's level. So just let the hate for WWE go. Everyone else has. Just let it go, Punk. But on to the Vince McMahon thing also. Great point. Vince has been in charge of WWE for almost 30-something years. Vince is, I think he's 77 years old or something. You got to get out with the old, in with the new. A lot of people respect Triple H, what he did with NXT. He introduced all these new stars like Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, all these other guys that the mainstream really didn't know unless you were watching independent or ROH wrestling. So with Triple H coming in, you know, a lot of guys are going to get the opportunity that they rightfully deserve. I read at one point he is very high on Kevin Owens and Finn Balor. We could possibly see Finn Balor back in the world's title picture, which we've been saying for years. But I love that Triple H is involved. I am sad to see Vince gone because Vince was part of my childhood growing up watching WWF/WWE. But times have changed. Vince in the last few years he just didn't know what he was doing. We were hearing multiple reports about him tearing up the script before Raw, making people rewrite 20 minutes before the show. So it's a breath of fresh air with Triple H running things. But let it go, Punk. Just let it go.
Which is funny because they had to rechange the script, obviously, last Friday because all the news came out at about 5 Central Time, 6 Eastern, about a couple hours before the show. So they had to do some scrambling. They started with Stephanie McMahon honoring Vince, and they had a thank you, Vince chant, and then they moved on and had a good night of SmackDown. Go-home episode of Raw already happened. The go-home episode for SmackDown is tomorrow. Let's get right into it then because we got Tones for the first half. Then, Cleve, we'll give our predictions on the second half. But, Tones, I'm going to take you down the card, go match by match. A little bit of rapid fire because we're doing all of them. And then, you know, something we might see, whether it's a upset victory, your cash-in thoughts, somebody who might be coming back, as I think we will get at a SummerSlam, for example, Becky Lynch last year, replacing Sasha Banks when she was injured against Bianca. So plenty of opportunity. Let's get right after it. Let's see where I want to start. On this card. You know what? Let's start it with one of the women we just talked, a couple of them actually that we just talked about. Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. This is pretty much the end of the trilogy here, as I call it. We had the 26-second loss against Bianca, win for Becky. Yes, last SummerSlam, Mania, Bianca gets the title back into her hands, and now here we are a year later following this SummerSlam. Tones, give us your prediction, and if you do go Bianca's way, could you see it being a very quick match, or they would never do that to Miss Becky Lynch?
I don't really see it going that quickly, to be honest. I think it's going to be a match. It's a pretty good match for the fans' eye. I think it's going to be a match that's appreciated by the viewer. I do think ultimately Bianca takes the match because I think that at the end of the day, they're going to want a younger up-and-comer like Bianca to be one champion, and then Liv Morgan's going to ultimately end up losing her belt in the short future to a lady like Charlotte Flair. So they're not going to want to do it completely old school and do a Flair Becky Lynch dual champion. So ultimately they're going to keep rocking with Bianca as the one champion and have her keep manning the ship. And I do think it's going to be a hell of a match. And they're going to want one up-and-coming lady. So Bianca will retain there while Liv will ultimately lose, whether it's now or later, her belt to Charlotte eventually.
And, you already had to get into the women's side of things there on the other side in SmackDown. Why don't we get right to it, though? Since you said eventually, I am going to take it that you are going with Miss Liv Morgan against Ronda Rousey.
I don't know about that. Like I said, a veteran will win the other belt. I think it's Charlotte Flair, but I could see her losing the belt to Ronda Rousey right away too, and having a Bianca Rousey dual champion as well. So I don't know. I think that I do think that Liv retains, but I don't think it's a given by any means. I'd probably call it a pick 'em if I were making a line for it.
Yeah, no easy match for sure. I will be doing a lot of complaining next week if Liv loses, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But there's the two women's titles for you right there, Raw and SmackDown. Talking about going to the men's side of things, the last match that was added, which is very intriguing to me because you might see some surprise action here. We have Judgment Day, who will be, and Rhea Ripley returns, so we already got a little bit back right there, but it will be Judgment Day versus the Mysterios in a no disqualification match. Again, I'll say more of my thoughts for later because I have a decent amount on this one. But Tones, what way do you see this going and anything possibly spooky happening?
Eventually, Judgment Day is going to come to an end, personally. I think that Finn Balor is going to do his own thing with Demon Finn, and that's how they're going to end because Demon Finn's going to come and pretty much going to, disintegrate the Judgment Day and call it a day there because you can't have humans with a demon. So I think Demon Finn's coming, going to draw an end to Judgment Day. And the Mysterios, I don't see Dom. He teased joining Judgment Day. Now the heel turn wouldn't be as good since it's been teased before. So I highly doubt it happens now because people expect it coming. Honestly, so I could see Judgment Day winning this match, and then either Raw or SmackDown or in the short future, Finn Balor turning heel on them and going Demon Finn. When they're celebrating or something. I got Judgment Day in this one, and then a Finn Balor Demon turn in the near future.
Percentage that Edge shows up at that match.
I don't really think there's a reason for him to, so I'll put it at 2%. I don't think there's a reason for him to. Like I said, I don't believe the stable is gonna be long for lasting, and maybe Edge does show up and he's a part of why they dissemble as well. So I'll up the 2 to 20%. I'll give it a slight chance if he shows up, causes havoc, and there goes the group. Sure, why not? But I think they'll save him for something bigger and better. I mean, unless him and Demon Finn might be the
That's what I
biggest
was thinking.
rivalry. That's what I was thinking. That could be pretty fun, maybe something like that. But we'll see, and we'll have to find out what that promo's been for too. That spooky one, if that's going to come to a halt or whatnot. But yeah, maybe I give a 20% chance Ed shows up and ruins the Judgment Day.
Yeah, and as for those who might have forgotten, Edge has been out for a while. There seem to be plenty of vignettes out on Raw about him as they leave it a little suspicious, but we can catch on. Come on now, we're smarter than that. But yeah, maybe he ruins it for them. Maybe he helps the Mysterios. Maybe doesn't get involved at all. Not really sure, but definitely sooner than later, Edge, the rated R superstar, will be back. Tones, this one is going to hit home a little bit more. We mentioned it a couple times. You got the Logan Paul shirt. You're a huge fan of The Miz. They are going one-on-one, mano-a-mano at SummerSlam. Who's taking home the gold?
Gotta be Miz, man. This one ain't even close for me. Not even a thought in the world about Logan Paul. I said on other shows the shirt was cheap and cool looking. And Logan Paul, quite frankly, is drawing no crowd reaction whatsoever. So he's maybe flopping a little bit. As cool as his story is, as cool as him and Jake Paul are together on the side of Madison Square Garden, Maurice looks a lot cooler, right? So I'm rolling with the Miz. He has a smoking hot wife. He's won All-Star Game MVP. And I think that's another guy that Triple H should benefit for all that he's done in the WWE. I just don't see Logan Paul winning or a storyline if Logan Paul wins where it would go next.
Yeah, and I absolutely love Miz. I love Miss and Mrs. It's a great show that's usually after Raw, about a half hour. They just had their season finale the other day. And on top of that, Pat McAfee said one of the coolest guy at the golf outing, which is like 800 people. He was like, man, out of all the celebrities, it was the best time to be with the Miz. So go Miz for sure. That's where my cheering interest will be. As I want to root for Logan Paul because I liked his ring skills from WrestleMania, but he has a lot of work to do on the mic. A lot of work to do on the mic. Going to the next match then as we move up the card here, we have the United States Championship back on the line. This time Lashley is the holder. Theory is the challenger. Tones, does the Almighty keep the belt or does that little prick win?
Lashley wins, and Theory has no reason to win that belt anymore, or even be in that storyline anymore. So Lashley wins and moves on and builds the belt back up to how it should be, and pride with the USA.
Amen. And there's nothing better than the USA, correct? I mean, America first always. We're going up the card here. This match I talked about the last couple weeks. I'm a little disappointed we had another rematch. It might be the best match on the card on paper as it's been at past pay-per-views and live events, but we're getting the Street Profits and the Usos for the undisputed tag titles with special guest referee JEFF JARRET, as he's also taken on Ric Flair in a match in another wrestling, but we talked about that some. We'll get back to that, I'm sure, as we get closer. But he is a special guest referee for the Usos and the Street Profits. Can the Street Profits finally get the titles back, or is this the end to the Street Profits going after the titles and they will start to go in a different direction? A lot of talk about Ford becoming a single star. Thoughts and prediction, Tom?
Yeah, this one's so tough, and I honestly think if Triple H is smart, I mean, the bloodline image ain't gonna change regardless. Or, it's still gonna be Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns, and the Usos. And whether the Usos have the tag team belts or not, that faction ain't gonna lose any steam or scariness, perhaps. So I think it's tough, but I think if they want to strengthen their tag team division, they'll keep the Street Profits around. And I mean, to me, it really does no good splitting them up. You do have enough singles competitors right now, and let's be honest, uh, AEW is the superior out of the tag teams. So if they want to try and keep the tag team division as strong or competitive with AEW, I really think that the Street Profits should remain a tag team and almost win the belts here. I mean, the Usos could win them back, sure, but it'd be a cool moment for the Street Profits to win the belts at SummerSlam with Jeff Jarrett, man in the ship before, let's just say this match should go a lot better for him than the next one. So that's all I got to say about that.
And as we talk about that, Cleve, be thinking about what match you disagree with Tones on most so we get a little chatter. We got 2 matches to go, though, before we do that and talk some trash, as we will have trash talk today instead of the damn report. And also, we'll also be hitting a little AEWs or some key things to hit there. Tones, a very underrated match. Not for me, as top 5 human in life for me when it comes down to people that are famous and that you admire. We got Mr. Pat McAfee versus Mr. Happy Corbin. Not so happy these days. Bomb-ass Corbin, as we all have been calling him the last few weeks. Great heel in mind. This is going to be a really good match. I'm interested to see which way you go here. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to be McAfee. Yeah, I mean,
we got a little technical difficulty as we're gonna come back to him in 1 minute. I believe he did say Mr. Pat McAfee, but I'm gonna let the screen roll through real quick. And also then on top of that, when he gets back with, I think, reiterating that he said Pat McAfee. I want to get all your thoughts, and now I want to hear on Lesnar, Reigns. Who are we going to get in the winner of that? Are we going to get Theory to cash in at any point in time? Let's bring you back here. Tones, I believe you were saying Mr. Pat McAfee.
Now, fellas.
We can hear you now.
Fellas.
We hear. And we shit. Oh shit.
All right, fellas. Yeah, I'm going up.
Thank you, Mr. Tampa Tones. Thank you very much. As something is happening here. I'm not really sure what's going on. We're gonna try to bring him back in and maybe say a last couple of comments, but totally got just like some stupid shit that always happens. I've totally got Abdul'd right there into some Houdini type stuff. Cleve, what did you disagree with on him, though, in any of his predictions to this point? Is we're going to, I promise, try to get him back for his last couple predictions.
Honestly, I think he hit a bunch. I think, honestly, the Street Profit one I disagree with. I believe the Usos win that match. I think they are really pushing for Montez Ford to be a singles wrestler, which sucks because Angel Dawson is a really good wrestler, too. And we've seen what happened in the past when they break a tag team up. Usually the guy that doesn't stand out the most like the other guy gets pushed to the back burner. So it will suck, but I think that's the goal, that they really want to push Montez forward. I hate to break the bad news to you, but Baron Corbin should win against Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee had his WrestleMania moment. He just can't keep going over actual full-time wrestlers. Even though I wouldn't say a huge fan of Pat McAfee, but I do like him, but I like Corbin better. I like Corbin more. And honestly, dude, Logan Paul, if he wins, that would be up there with the Goldberg.
Oh, he's going to win.
It would piss me off to watch him beat The Miz, because The Miz is a better wrestler. He deserves better than to lose to a guy that's probably just going to have this match and disappear for a while after.
No, he signed a contract for a while, so he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Now, Tim Crawley does agree with you on Corbin. He loves McAfee, but he goes, man, Corbin could use a win, and he likes him as well. So if McAfee loses, we are going to get an epic match. Cleve, your thing is all good now, so we'll just be on chilling full time as we get closer to the halfway point of the show. I'm going to get him to text his Lesnar Reigns Theory thoughts, but let's get into it and go reverse order starting there. Who's your winner of the match, and does Theory do anything?
Oh, man, this is a big match. This is a last man standing match. This is going to be really, really good, but the Tribal Chief comes out on top. I'm sorry. I don't know if Brock's going to stick around once he knows that Vince is retired. I'm pretty sure they would really close, and I don't really see Triple H pushing Brock as hard as Vince was pushing. And I don't think so with Theory. It'll be dumb for Theory to cash in on Roman, just because I don't think Theory is ready to be world champion. Maybe a few months down the road, but not right now. No, Roman should be the champion at least until Clash at the Castle.
Yeah, I think it would be a bad idea if Theory cashed in now. It's too soon. We could play that element of surprise out. And sometimes they pull the trigger a little quick. Look at Liv Morgan, look at Alexa Bliss, Big E. Let's let things play a little bit here and have some fun with it, as Austin Theory is a great heel. So you pretty much said you disagree with Corbin and the Usos. I'm going to go down the card, and Cleve, just chime in on the other matches when you have a comment on any of it and where you see some spooky things maybe happening. I'm going to go with the Roman Reigns win, and I see Theory maybe coming out, but somebody stops him. I'm not sure who it's going to be, as everybody could be eliminated as the last man standing for Brock and Roman, but somebody may stop him. Maybe you see some involvement, but I don't see the Money in the Bank. Don't use this opportunity right yet, Triple H. Let's get a little bit creative with that there. McAfee, obviously, I'm going with. And obviously, for one reason, he's one of the best people on earth. So why not give that guy a W? Even though I do agree Corbin could have a win. It's been a really good storyline to this point in time. I'm going to go with Logan Paul over The Miz, not because I want to, but it just, as the story's been going on, it seems that we'll get the result that way. Miz has done a couple of moves to Logan. Logan did show good signs at Mania, and then Miz turned on him with doing the skull crushing finale. So I think this will be, really Logan Paul's first big time quote unquote moment in the WWE with his new contract. The Judgment Day versus Mysterios. Cleve, I do want your thoughts on this. Here's the hypothetical. I'm going to throw two hypotheticals at you, and I want to see which one you think could happen more. Do you see Judgment Day winning this match because Dom does a turn on Ray, and then Edge comes out to help Ray and get back at all the old demons in Judgment Day who ruined him? That's scenario number one. Or do you see the Judgment Day, just straight up beating the crap out of Mysterios? For whoever wins, maybe the Mysterios grab something at the end, but then Edge comes out after it's all done and then, causes all havoc. So basically, I guess it comes down to if you think Dom will do any turning in this, and do you see Edge coming out?
Well, I remember a few months ago where it said Ray said he didn't want to feud with his son. He wanted to tag team with him. So I don't know if the idea changed, but if that changed, that would be phenomenal for Dominic, because I'm pretty sure we all know that Rey Mysterio has probably a few more years left where he can compete at a high level. It's crazy to even think that he's 20 years and he still can do some of the moves he did when he first debuted back in 2002 on SmackDown. But I think what's they called again?
Undisputed titles.
No, Finn Balor and
the Demon.
I think that they win because I think they needed more than the Mysterios, just because they're a new faction. Rhea Ripley returned on Monday for the first time in a while.
Yep, good to have her back
against Bianca, but she was injured. So I think Judgment Day, there we go, the name. I think Judgment Day needs this win more than Mysterio. And if Edge does come back, it will be a phenomenal feud to see Edge versus Finn Balor. And then he can also elevate Damian Priest. And then, Rhea Ripley is going to be playing the outside most likely. And it's a no disqualification match Saturday. So she can also play a big factor to that match also. But I see Mysterio's won on Monday, so I got Judgment Day winning Sunday. And I probably think Edge will come out after they win.
Saturday,
yes.
Don't forget it. I know you're all messed up in Hawaii over there now, but don't forget it's a Saturday. Going back to the main event really quick, because Tones, I asked him for his prediction since he cut out there. Sorry for the technical difficulties but he chooses Brock Lesnar, and then Theory tries to, cash in, and Brock Lesnar beats the crap out of him. Here is the only reason I don't think why Brock will win. I think after this match, this might be his last match ever. I honestly, because he was very tied to hip to Vince. In a McAfee interview he had, when they compared, McAfee asked him, who do you see more as the figure, UFC Dana White or Vince McMahon? Vince McMahon, he said, more of a father figure, as I paraphrase, and Dana White more as, friend, but business at the same time. So I think this could be his last match ever, and I think he'll put on a phenomenal show, but I think it all comes to an end there. So, I would like to see, I'll probably root for Brock Lesnar. I like both. I don't know who exactly I'm going to root for yet, but there's Tone's main event prediction is he was driving and getting through. So let's move on. Other matches, women's wise, I got Bianca and Liv both winning. I'm going to be very pissed off next week, like I said, if Liv loses. No point of, I can see when you do that with veterans, you put a championship on them and it comes off pretty quick, but you can't do that to Liv or Bianca, really. I mean, wouldn't it just be stupidity to take the titles off either, Mr. Cleve?
It would definitely be the bad move to take both off simply because Bianca Belair is she just won it at Mania, and you don't want to seem like you're playing hot potatoes with the women's belt. Becky got it to Bianca, then go back to Becky. I just think it would really hurt Bianca Belair to lose at SummerSlam 2 years in a row. It's funny because it's crazy you guys talked about it. It was just last year that Becky returned, hit the man bottom and won within 26 seconds. Now the Liv Morgan situation to me is completely different because I don't want to be this negative guy about it, but I just really feel like once the feel good story about Liv Morgan disappears, how much will the crowd really be behind her? It's sort of the same when Ricochet first won the Intercontinental Champion, and we talked about all the great possibilities about it, but sometimes when people get the belt, you just all right. They got the belt now. What? Like I think Liv Morgan needs to keep improving in the ring and keep showing that she is deserving of the belt. She's okay on the mic. She's not the best, but neither is Ronda. But Ronda makes up for it inside the ring. So Liv will win this, but I'm telling you, once Charlotte comes back, that is over with. Done deal. Unless
Or Bailey.
or I don't. But Bailey's not a reign killer though. Like she's not a championship killer. Like you see Bailey come back, you're safe. Charlotte come back, you really need to be on your toes because if you're not improving from when you first won it till now, then Charlotte's going to come through and sweep it up. So I do have Liv retaining, but I just tell people don't get your hopes up because I don't think it'll last that long once the feel good story from her goes away.
Yeah, and I'm really praying for that not to be the case, as that would be such a big disappointment to me. Just because, I mean, like, just put it on her. Hey, she ranks top in sales. People are listening to her intro song on all outlets as she keeps moving up the ranks in both. So to me, it just doesn't make sense. People know Charlotte, people know Ronda, people know Bailey. Get them involved, but let's keep that title on Liv at least till Survivor Series, if you ask me, which is probably October, maybe November. I got to look at the schedule. As we'll try to be getting into shows and all that good stuff. A couple more matches to go. I'm going to go with the Usos over the Street Profits. I think they keep the bloodline with all the titles. I do think Angelo Dawkins won't go away, but I do think Montez Ford is going to start to get that singles push sooner than later. So I think that's how it breaks down there. And no point of taking the title off Bobby now, as he just won it from Theory. And I don't, with having the undisputed titles, not having one on Raw and SmackDown right now, it's hard for Bobby to get in that main title because unless you're one of a few people, it's just a very hard thing to break with. Tomorrow night on SmackDown, for those who don't know, McIntyre and Sheamus fight. Winner fights the undisputed title at Clash of Champions. So we're already a couple pay-per-views deep where we're booked solid. So I hope Lashley, in which he's doing a great job with the U.S. title, and I think Theory's involving himself in great ways. Let's kind of keep those things going as we get closer. You got something, Cleve?
Oh yeah, so I definitely agree. I'm a huge Theory fan. I think we all know this, but I think with Theory winning the Money in the Bank, he sort of elevated. He sort of elevated himself above the middle card picture. And Bobby Lashley is the right guy to bring prestige back to the United States champion. I've seen reports where a lot of people. I'm on Bleacher Report majority of the time, reading comments and stuff. And there's a lot of people that want the Intercontinental and the United States champion to hold value like it used to back in the day. So why not have the guy Bobby Lashley he was in the army at one point, so the United States champion is perfect on him. A guy like that, you can elevate the United States champion and sort of do what John Cena did, and have open challenge, put on great matches. And I just think Theory don't need that United States champion anymore. Neither does I'm not saying Bobby needs it, but Bobby will add more prestige to it than Theory will at the moment.
Do you think Dolph Ziggler gets involved in the SummerSlam in any way?
Oh, 100%. And it won't even probably be physical. It'll just be what he did Monday, where he'll just distract Theory somehow, probably taking a picture or just getting on the apron or doing something. And that feud will be really good, too, to keep Theory busy as he holds the Money in the Bank. And who knows? We usually get one of those matches where the briefcase is put up in a match. So Maybe we get that between Dolph and Theory. I'm really happy to see Dolph Ziggler back. He's another guy that is very underrated, does not get the respect he deserves, but he is phenomenal in the ring, great on the mic, and is happy. I am happy to see that he is back.
Yeah, we have so much going on with Theory. It was funny on Monday Night Raw, and I thought it was a great way to get fan interjection when, Roman starts the show. Theory comes out, and basically Roman goes, hey, your daddy's boy. You ain't here. It's not your show. This is my yard. This is my ring. And the crowd kept chanting, Daddy's boy, Daddy's boy, which was just epic to me to have. That really started the new era right there. That was a nice little shot for Mr. Roman right off the bat. Get the fan interaction, got the blood flowing. I love how that went. But Theory, man, between the U.S. title with Lashley, between the Money in the Bank, Roman and Brock, he gets involved with sometimes as Brock Lesnar. He was got with the week before on Raw. Then you have Dolph Ziggler getting involved. Dolph Ziggler and AJ Styles teamed up. Is sadly we don't get Styles at this SummerSlam, which is a damn shame. Unless they do a pre-show match, which would be pretty cool. One thing, Cleve, I wanted to bring up. Before we continue, Alexa Bliss has made it clear she wants the next shot at a championship, and thank God we're going to bring some fresh blood into that there. Your thoughts on Bliss being the next challenger for Becky Bianca?
Well, before, I think you mentioned this a while back, before she got in this whole thing with Bray Wyatt and stuff, she was one of the top women in the women's division at one point. She was
correct.
She held the Raw Women's Champion for a while. She was the first 3-time SmackDown Women's Champion. Liv Morgan does not get, Alexa Bliss does not get the credit she deserves when we talk about the great women's wrestling. And honestly, she's up there, which I'm not going to say no one's up there with Charlotte. Charlotte's on a whole nother level. Same with Becky. But you can kind of say she's on the same level as Sasha and Bayley. Like, what really separates the three women? Alexa Bliss is phenomenal on the mic. She has the great looks, great in the ring. Her finishing move, Twisted Bliss, is probably one of the most unique moves we've seen from a women's wrestler. So she deserves to be back in that title picture. And honestly, she's been feuding with Doudrop and Nikki Ash these past few weeks. And I think that was great to help build her character back up. The next step is to get rid of that stupid doll. I think the doll phase is over.
It's close. It probably just makes some sales still.
Yeah, okay, yeah. They'll milk it until they can't milk it anymore. But once they get that doll away and we get what was her name before it was something. But once we get that old
Twisted Bliss or
she used to call herself something before she became the Dark Alexa Bliss. But once she gets back to that Alexa Bliss, then we can really start seeing great matches because we need fresh faces in the women's division.
I completely agree. As we've been getting a lot of things going back to Mania, things still stemming back storyline there, which is fine. But let's get let's get it moving a little bit along the way. What do you think? Okay, so we didn't bring up a guy like Tommaso Ciampa, for example, but he could help The Miz get to a victory. Do you have any not preview? We're already doing that while we're here. But do you have any wild predictions? A return, big upset? I know we went through the card. What do you got for us where you might say, damn, I didn't see that coming? All led by Triple H now.
Well, there's two things. First thing, I forgot about Ciampa. I think I said his name right. I think he will play a factor in the Miz and Logan Paul's fight. It seems like he's sort of like the Miz understudy. Miz is taking him under his wing. It seems like he's doing some of the dirty work for the Miz, and it's a great role for him at the moment to get introduced to the main crowd on the main roster because a lot of people that watch Raw and SmackDown really don't watch NXT, so they probably aren't too familiar with who he is. So with him hanging out with the Miz, I think is a great move. Also, if Seth Rollins still has no opponent, I know we said Riddle is injured at the moment. Why not introduce AJ Styles? They're going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. We already have Jeff Jarrett. If anybody watched TNA old school back in the day, you would understand that Jeff Jarrett and AJ Styles have big fans in Nashville. So why not add AJ Styles and Seth Rollins. You can have a one-off match. It doesn't matter. That match will be a banger between Seth and AJ Styles.
I love that idea right there. Absolutely love it. And unless Randy Orton's coming back early from injury, which it seems like he'll be out longer, but that was one of my thoughts. I think that would be a phenomenal, no pun intended there, like Big Dog using the word pun so terribly. I mean, Ryu Kendrick, Big Dog, Myron's been on this show before, just terrible usage of the word pun, but I used it correctly. That would be something great. I've been talking about it forever, and I'm quite frankly, I'm sick of keep talking because, hey, with Triple H back now, you might see even more wild surprises than you thought with people wanting to come back and work for the company. I saw the Canellises wanted to, made a comment how they want to come back. Guess what? News for you. Don't need you. But anyways, I'm going with Bayley. I think it's finally Bayley's time. I know Charlotte's on the comeback too. As she's been posting a lot of videos working out. She got her wedding fully out of the way, all her honeymoon, all that good stuff. I would love to see. I would love to see Bayley come back and then, start her feud up right there with Liv. She doesn't need to win the title right away. And it would just be great to have, a couple of good matches there, get her back into things. And then Charlotte and Ronda, they still have a little unfinished business. Maybe have one more match between them two, non-title wise, so people don't mind that they're battling there. So that's just not my prediction, spoiler, surprise, whatever it may have you. That's just really what I'm hoping for because I miss Bayley. I didn't like her as a heel right off the bat, but I think like Seth Rollins did, she really grew into her character and had some really good things happening there. Like I said, tomorrow on SmackDown, we have Sheamus and McIntyre. They're calling it something Irish, I think, but they're going to have like a no holds barred type, no DQ match, which should be awesome. We'll see the acts of Liv Morgan. We'll see what we get out of the main event picture. But for right now, they're pretty much building it around that Sheamus and Drew match, which we've seen many of good ones before, but no chance Sheamus wins this, right, Cleve? Even though he does have some help.
I don't know why they didn't put this on SummerSlam. I think this would have been another good match, but I think this will be it's a Shillelagh match, correct? I think
that might be it. It was something along those lines.
I think it was a Shillelagh match, number one contender for Clash of the Castle, and I think that Drew McIntyre comes out on top. I'm pretty sure they will be in somewhere around where Drew McIntyre is from, but
they will be.
This one is either guy could win, and I really won't complain because I've been saying this for a while. Sheamus should be back in the main event picture. He's a main event type guy, but I can understand that he's mentoring these younger guys. So I do think Drew McIntyre comes out on top.
Man, this Dwight Howard thing you sent at SummerSlam is hilarious with the WWE tryouts. Man, for people that don't know, WWE has tryouts at these events because they go for multiple days. And Dwight Howard, former NBA player of the Magic, the Lakers, and more, apparently was there for a little bit of a tryout, maybe just having fun with it, but really good stuff. Shout out Rey Mysterio is at the Garden. He got represented for his 20 years. Randy Orton, Cena, they're all on that rank. Shout out to all for, being involved for so long, but especially Mr. Rey Mysterio is, his career is dwindling as his son will carry the legacy, but interested to see if they ever do turn on each other there. Cleve, we've talked a lot of WWE at this point. Before we finish with WWE SummerSlam talk, I did want to bring in a little AEW because I did mention that we would talk about it. And I think it's important after they had a pretty good show last night and we got some new championship involvement. First off, like I mentioned earlier, as Jericho is a part of the Jericho Appreciation Society, it's full of entertainers, a little humor at the WWE. One of his guys came out and said to appreciate us yesterday. I found that some relief in that because at the end of the day with competition, you have to. But Jericho is the new guy for Moxley. Now they've each been champion to get, because it's the interim title. So technically, whoever wins this match, I would consider the second time winning, because Jericho would have 2 title runs under his belt. That means, and then Moxley would have the main, the interim, and then beat Jericho. So to me, whoever wins this match, it's a big deal, because this will take it to when CM Punk should hopefully get back, and instead of blabbing along, have him in the ring. Do you think Jericho and Moxley is a good idea, or do you think, hey, we're taking another opportunity away?
I think I'm going to go with the second one. Jericho's a legend. You know, we all know what he did in WWE, especially what he has done for AEW. But if it's still a new belt, the AEW World Champion hasn't been out for no more than, I think, 3 years. So there's no need to have a guy hold it the second time. I think, why is not MJF in there? Like I said, I don't really follow AEW too much, but I do think that by just adding the same old guys, you're blocking other guys from getting their chance to have a shot at this belt. Now, I know a lot of people's like, Adam Hangman didn't work out that well. And yes, that tends to happen. Same with WWE. They put the belt on Jinder and that flopped really quick, but you still got to give guys the opportunity to see what they can do with the belt. But if I were to pick a winner, I never liked Dean Ambrose, whatever you want to call him. I would pick Jericho to win that match.
I would be rooting for him, for sure. But there will be time before that, I'm sure. I think they fight in a couple weeks. I bet you they fight again at All Out, which is in Chicago. I'm trying to either get to the Dynamite or Rampage. Got a fantasy draft on the Sunday. We're doing it before the pay-per-view, so that will be a great day for the boys as we get to do a fantasy football draft, and leads right into All Out. What better way to do that on a Sunday as we get closer to football season? And that's when it makes me happy that pay-per-views are on Saturday because of football. But moving on, an interesting thing happened. Christian and Jungle Boy have been rivaling for a bit now. They haven't had a match because Jungle Boy's injured, but Christian has came at his life, whether it's his dad who's not here with us, rather it's his mother who he said he'd sleep with. He was just coming at him. And Jungle Boy, I thought, kind of similar to Roman saying daddy's boy, Jungle Boy just gets out there yesterday and straight up on TBS on Dynamite goes, "You're a pussy, Christian." And the whole crowd starts chanting, "Pussy, pussy." And I thought that was really good. This rivalry is getting really, really fierce, though, and I cannot wait for the first match they have. Cleve, you got any comment on that? You know Christian pretty well. Not sure how much you know on Jungle Boy, but pretty electric stuff.
It's another young talent. I think Christian is always the type of guy. Christian went to Impact years and years ago. It's kind of funny because I've been the last few nights been watching old TNA from 05 to 09. And when Christian showed up, he put a lot of young guys over that a lot of people didn't know. And I don't know too much about Jungle Boy, but I'm pretty sure he's still young. So this is a tremendous feud between the two. It's kind of funny that, they Christian the Pussy Boy chant, because I think about years and years ago, Jim Ross started the creepy CLB for Christian, means creepy little bastard. And I remember the crowd used to chant that for Christian. So kind of cool to still see that actually interaction. And Christian has always been a phenomenal heel. So I love the direction that is going. I hope Jungle Boy comes out on top. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with the show, but I always like to see the young guys get put over more than the older established guys.
Yeah, no, totally agree, and I'll be rooting 100% for him. It'll be interesting to see if Luchasaurus plays a factor as he's bounced back and forth. About that changed hands FTW title, which was brought in by Taz, owned for a while by guys like Brian Cage. Ricky Starks has had the latest run, and another up-and-comer who I actually thoroughly been enjoying. His name is Hook. Slender, smaller build, similar to Jungle Boy, a little bit bigger than him, though. He beats Danhausen, Ricky Starks, then turns around and has a impromptu match and has Hook come out, who the crowd just absolutely loves. Hook wins the belt, walks off, and then Ricky Starks, who's really good on the mic, he has a really good 40-minute promo. If you haven't seen it, just go on YouTube and type in Ricky Starks, promo or segment from Dynamite last night, because he went off how he should be. he should get more than his 30 seconds on the mic. He's a really beloved star. He's worked his ass off. He was the FTW champion forever, blah, blah, blah. Even though he's a heel, fans were cheering for him because they know how much blood, sweat, and tears they put into it. Well, his partner, Powerhouse Hobbs, turns heel on him, which a lot of people have been waiting for a while now. And we all know totally opposite. Powerhouse Hobbs isn't that good on the mic, but he's way bigger than Mr. Ricky Starks, and this will be a great dynamic. I was kind of hoping when Gene was on a few weeks back, we talked AEW, and none of the guys are end up going to fight Moxley. I was hoping for Hobbs. I think he mentioned Jay Lethal. We talked about Lance Archer. But like we said, it's going to be Jericho, so it will be interesting to see what happens there. If Moxley wins at the end of the day, I could see why they did it a little more, because they don't want maybe one of those guys to take the L and just go to the back of the line. But there was plenty of names to go down the roster before you had to land on Jericho. So that will be interesting. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about AEW because I thought it was a pretty good show last night. They have a lot going on as well. They're still a while away from All Out. It's about 5 weeks away, but they're setting things up pretty nicely over there. Cleve, before we start to head out of here, as we're almost at the top of the hour, we've been with you guys for approximately that long. Give maybe something we haven't talked about, maybe something you really want to highlight in the SummerSlam card. What do you want to talk about for a couple of minutes with SummerSlam?
Well, it's probably not.
Or in wrestling in general.
It's not SummerSlam related, but I sent you guys the video of it. It seems that Dwight Howard was at WWE tryouts.
Did you not listen to the couple minutes when I talked about that?
I didn't hear that part.
You sent it to us, but give me your damn thoughts, since you were probably just texting your girlfriend who's probably 2 doors down.
I think it's really cool to see that all these athletes who most likely did grow up watching wrestling as me and you did, they are getting toward the end of their careers in their respective sports, and they're starting to, you know what, let's transition over to something that I always watched growing up. We think about a few years ago, Inez Cancer was also training to be a WWE wrestler. So I think it's really cool to see guys from all these other sports giving WWE, even wrestling in general, a try. I know Kevin Gates made an appearance at AEW, I think last week, where he knocked the guy out. That it's just really cool to see WWE get their mainstream attention that they rightfully deserve. Because I think a lot of people, even it makes me so mad, Joe, when I hear these idiots in these Bleach Report comments always trying to knock WWE, call it fake or this and that. When realistically, yeah, the matches are script, but what they do inside the ring is nowhere near fake. What they put their bodies on the lines every week is not fake. So it's just good to see that other sports are finally recognizing how serious WWE is. Because I'm not going to call it, the hardest sport out there. But compared to other sports like, NFL, they have 17 weeks. WWE's on the road for almost 300 days out the year.
Yeah, those people are just haters. They don't know what they're talking about. And quite frankly, that's why wrestling gets a little bit of WWE does in the ESPYs, because they know how hard it is, and it's 365 days a year. But go on.
Yeah, because if it was that easy, then the average Joe can go do it. I mean, no pun intended. Hey, big one.
Hey, I'm average.
But, if it was that easy, I could just go out there and take a suplex off the top rope, but it's not that easy. Even the most basic moves, the DDT, not well done, you can really hurt someone. So it's just really cool to see that. I wouldn't mind seeing Dwight Howard in WWE. That's another guy that a lot of people hate from his days in LA.
He would get some Logan Paul type boos.
People would pay money to boo Dwight Howard. So that's just really cool to see. Speaking of Ryu, the crybaby, I didn't appreciate you coming at my quarterback talking about you hope Dak stay healthy. Listen here, I would never wish an injury on any player because I want every player 100% when my team beats that trash team in New York called the New York Giants, who will finish 4th in the division. Quarterback literally threw 10 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Don't you dare come at Dak again. He doubled those numbers, doubled the touchdowns. I cannot believe that. I cannot believe the nerve of the big fella. Yeah, big fella, I'm talking to you. You know where you can find me at. Hit me back up, tough guy.
Yeah, and he doesn't even put money up, so we just throw that to the side when that happens. If you're going to talk, let's walk. That's all I'll say. hopefully we get to walk with Elias or Ezekiel soon. But what I'm going to say is this with SummerSlam. Going to be a great SummerSlam's second best show of the year. We all know that. It's going to be phenomenal. We got great matches everywhere. Look for something big out of Seth Rollins. Look for a big return. Triple H is going to put his mark on this show in some way. We're going to come out here on Monday and we're going to be talking about what do you think and that's what I'm going to leave this here all tonight. I want everyone to think about when you finish watching SummerSlam Saturday, what do you think Triple H put his mark on and where do you think the journey begins? Because we're going to get a couple of things that his stamp will be on. His stamp of approval will be on going into this weekend. That's why I'm extra motivated. After I move, I get completely settled into my crib as Cleve is now settled into his. We'll both be living nicely and be watching a good old SummerSlam, which will probably be at around 1 o'clock will probably be the pre-show for you. That pay-per-view will be about from like 1 to 4, 1 to 5. Not bad actually on a Saturday. That's a pretty cool way to have it. Then you got the whole night ahead of you. But thank you as always for the people that tuned in and listened. This has been a great show. We've given all our predictions for SummerSlam. We talked a little bit about AEW Fight for Fallen and what's going on there headed into the future as we get headed into All Out. We had Mr. Tampa Tones with us who, took time out of his day while he was, had obligations to get to. A little bit of poor connection, but he got his 2 cents as well. Cleve, before we get out of here, anything for the fans and any last Cleveland thought?
I just want to say, like how Joe just mentioned, thank you to everyone that tunes in every week, everyone that watches our YouTube show. You guys are what's keeping us really going. WWE wrestling in general is just we're in a new era of wrestling at the moment. We have a new guy in control of the ship, Triple H, a former wrestler. And I am really looking forward to seeing. I know we're moving to TV 14, which is also a great step because thank goodness the PG era is over. Sorry for all you little kids that love wrestling, but I was not a big fan of the PG era because I didn't grow up in it. And you guys are going to see the era that some of your parents grew up in. So really pumped for that. But Cleveland's thought is SummerSlam is going to be really great. It's a lot of great matches. But above all else, the tribal chief Roman Reigns will retain, and all of you will acknowledge him more. Thank you.
Hey, amen to that. And above all that, I'm going to end it with a little TV 14. Bomb-ass Corbin. I hope we get a little more action on Pat McAfee tomorrow coming at him. But hey, for all that being said, that was Cleve. We had Tones. This is me. God bless. Good night. And again, if you want to rewatch or tell anybody about it, this show will be up on YouTube. Just type in Cleve and Me. Get at us on Twitter at Cleve and Me. Give us your thoughts. We'll be posting a poll question in the next 24 hours as well. So get at us. God bless. Good night. And enjoy SummerSlam 2022 in Nashville, Tennessee.